Okay. Well, let's go on ahead. We'll get started. Not too jam-packed of an agenda today. I just have two kind of primary topics to discuss, and then we have some updates and reminders at the end. But yeah, if you might notice, yeah, since unfortunately not able to join us today, but I'm happy to step back up and be running the show here. So on the agenda today, we've got kind of two open proposals. One, a proposal to look back on that we said we'd revisit, and so that was the Boost program and how we want to continue looking at APRs for staked Rook. The other agenda item I had today was the newly submitted proposal to deploy our ETH, which has been talked at solid length and had a fantastic amount of discussion and research put into it during Treasury Tuesdays as well. And so we'll talk about those two items. I've got some housekeeping at the end, but now that we've got a few folks here in the audience, we might as well get started with agenda item number one. So looking back at the Boost program, so I'm going to go on ahead and hop on our forum and link that in the chat here. Give me a minute. Continue the Boost program for 8 weeks. There we go. So the last time we spoke about this, we had just announced that we would be committing 4 rounds of our CVX bribe voting or CVX voting to Alchemix for that OTC deal that netted us the tokamak reactor. That is a short-term thing. We're already through round 1 of it as well, so 3 more rounds left, and then we can go back to deciding however we want to use CVX voting. So what that has done though is that's impacted this proposal a little bit in terms of timeline. And so there's also been some changes in the CVX ecosystem, and not changes smart contract wise, more economics wise. Where if I'll drop another link here. Llama.Air Force. Let's hop into Vodium. And let's hit on the overview. So I'm going to drop this link in the chat. So on Llama.Air Force, tracking the bribes by round. Obviously this bear market in coupling with the implosion of Luna has taken a massive hit on the amount of bribes we're seeing every 2 weeks. And so if you can kind of see, our for the past couple months, the total bribes available ranged from a little over 13 million to as high as $21 million. All of that netted somewhere between, call it 35 cents to 50 cents a vote. What we've seen now for the last month, since this has all been going down, or the last kind of 3 weeks, is that we're hovering right now at about 30% of that. The last 2 rounds have both been within, like $10,000 worth of each other, and getting 12.5, 13.5 cents per vote. So about 30% of the standard amount of revenue that's kind of equaling about like $45,000 every 2 weeks, instead of kind of that 150-ish thousand that we had been kind of coming to expect and really enjoying getting. So I don't see right now a current reason for that to revert back to previous means. Number one, because Luna used to be a 5 to 7 million around briber, and that money's gone. So that's never coming back. So that's a big challenge. Someone like Frax has also strategically been reducing their bribes. I think that they used to do somewhere in the $6 to $7 million around. That is now down to like 2.5, 2.7. So all in all, I think bear market's kind of taking its toll on the bribes situation. We're still earning on it, respective to the overall value of the CVX that we have. It's still pretty solid returns. I think it's still about a 40% APY. So not bad, but it's also, if we wanted to look after the Alchemix deal expires, if we wanted to go back to the status quo, which was just taking the best bribes we could and liquidating them for Rook and setting that aside, the amount of Rook we'd be getting every 2 weeks is going to be drastically lower. So that's just another thing to consider with this. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pause. Let anybody that wants to come up and talk about their ideas around the Boost program come share their updates. If they think that we just want to continue with other sources of funds or anything like that, happy to hear all ideas here. If this is still something that we want to see how things play out, I'm happy to continue to table this discussion. I haven't seen too much activity around it on the Discord here. So, looking at what's left in the Boost program right now, I believe we are on week 5. So we have like 3 more weeks of this program left. And so that's probably another like 7 or 8 Boost transactions left as well, in terms of like the every 4-ish day epochs that we have. So yeah, so does anyone else have any thoughts here on the Boost program? And if it's something that we want to experiment with and letting the natural market kind of guide it. Does anyone have any thoughts here? Hey, Matt.
Hey there, hey everybody. I wouldn't say I had super strong thoughts about this at the moment. I would like to see this play out a little bit more and just see how Convex just rebounds or maybe it doesn't. But my initial thoughts are that this proposal was more looking at staking rewards as a marketing effort more than anything. And correct me if I'm wrong, Cap, but that's the way I was interpreting this. And I my own personal opinion is that there's a lot of this type of marketing when it comes to staking yields is not going to make big waves in what I'm considering maybe a bear market or a baby bear market right now. And so, I'm more hesitant than I was previously about continuing this program to the same level. I think that there is probably some portion that we could kind of find in some equilibrium, and I don't know what that is. Maybe a further discussion on that. But I do think if we're looking at this as a marketing tactic, that this type of marketing move in this environment is probably not the most effective, just because of the lack of optics just in general.
Yeah, it is interesting, if we were to look at altcoins, shitcoins to some people, overall in general, I would say not a lot of capital wow, I can't talk, capital is being deployed to kind of stock up on them. I would say that a lot of the bleed that we're experiencing is the same thing that Convex is experiencing, is the same thing that many other kind of DeFi protocols are experiencing right now, where a lot of the focus seems to be either de-risking or accumulating ETH or Bitcoin. Instead, at least that's my personal interpretation. I wouldn't say that I have good numbers to back that up, except just looking at the weekly percent down. A lot of DeFi feels like it is. So Alcap saying his main target was not to have the APY drop 95% suddenly, making it smaller in time. So that would mean that at the end of the 8-week program, it sounds like something that you would be in favor of is to slowly reduce. So maybe there's a 10% reduction each epoch, and we just identify where that funding source could be, or some other schedule that might be on. Just kind of talking out loud here.
I mean, maybe maybe a quicker fix on that is instead of extending the program and having it reduce slower past the 8 weeks that we've kind of all looked at. Maybe it's just about reducing what we've committed for those final couple of weeks we have left a little bit slower, so that we can conserve more capital, and maybe we can make a further commitment to use the rest of those funds during the swap feature launch when we're targeting a specific cohort of the market that we're trying to target with that product. I don't know if that's a better way to smooth things out on kind of the front end, or if it's better to kind of do it by extending it.
All right. Well, Matt, I know that you have some pretty solid. I mean, by solid, I mean full agendas for Treasury Tuesdays. Is this something where we can dig into the numbers of what's available for the program on Tuesday, and just kind of see what the picture looks like currently?
Sure thing. Yep. I have a schedule already built out, and we can definitely review that and just kind of look ahead to see how that may impact things.
Gotcha. All right, Alcap, I'm seeing your feedback here about it dropping to a 1 to 2% APR. Might scare a bunch of people. It screams that our tokenomics are bad. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how people feel about that. So yeah, I think that why don't we have this as an agenda item for Tuesday, where we look at the numbers, we look at kind of who's held through this staking period, and we can talk more about that as well. Matt, if you'll stay up here, I might as well transition to agenda item number 2, which is the official posting of the ETH deployment KIP, moving from its workshop draft document to now officially being on the forum. You want to just quickly tell us about final decisions that have gone into that?
Sure thing. I know we've had some good conversations on multiple meetings, but happy to give the TLDR again. So, really this all kind of starts with us pulling our idle funds from the liquidity pools, which, freed up a lot of capital for us to make some moves. And so had a lot more ETH that we could bring back. And obviously that being our first holding, we wanted to try to deploy that since it would kind of return the most meaningful returns, hopefully. So we will be deploying about 75% of our idle ETH between 3 different liquid staking providers. Stakewise is number 1 with the highest allocation, Rocket Pool as number 2, and then Lido Finance as being our 3rd spot. Just some highlights from that. Stakewise, we've had some kind of conversations about potential integrations and different things that we can do together. We've definitely had the best form of contact and relationship with that team out of the 3. So I think that's a big factor to consider. And then secondarily, they also agreed to give us a 5% incentive on the front end in their native token SWIs. And that's really in relation to how much we deposit. So whatever amount we deposit, just take 5% of the value of that in the form of their token. So pretty nice incentive. They didn't require us to lock it up for any period of time, but in my proposal, I think I said 60, 90 days. I'm trying to remember to lock it up, just in good faith. So I think that really impacted kind of our scorecard from a tokenomics perspective, because really the tokenomics and the expected yields between all the different providers, really there's not a high delta on a lot of those. So giving 5% on the front end, especially with the opportunity cost of being able to stake that asset in different places as well, which we can discuss and explore more, it's pretty high. So it was a big reason that contributed to Stakewise taking the number 1 spot. I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. I think the biggest reason that Lido probably did not receive a higher allocation, and something I still even struggle with a little bit, is really just understanding our place in the ecosystem, and if we want to contribute to what's currently a pretty bad concentration of the liquid staked ETH. Last time I looked, Lido has about 90% of the liquid staked ETH market, which maybe some people would argue is not dangerous. From my perspective, from a lot of the researchers and people that have been on the Treasury Tuesday calls, definitely is a concern. And so we did not want to be, contributing that to the main factor. We are still slightly contributing into it just because it is such a great product, but that is being limited by the fact that we're allocating more towards these smaller players who we want to inspire more competition and a healthier network through diversification and diversity. So I would say that those are kind of the two big TLDRs from that. We should be able to get pretty decent yields around 4%, or at least how they stand right now. That depending on when and if, hopefully not if, but when the merge happens, yields on that should spike drastically. Obviously, there's a lot of different factors in that. But from the parties I've talked to at Stakewise, Rockpool, Lido, and just other people in the landscape, I think I've seen estimations between 8 and 15%. So that should be a nice little double, hopefully on a return. And again, these things are extremely liquid. They all are essentially the same as ETH, or just literally derivatives of that. So we can kind of move in and out and take advantage of things pretty quickly without worrying about reputational harm, getting front runs, signaling to the rest of the ecosystem. So it's a nice way to gain yield and still have the same thing as what's in our treasury now, but really kind of deploy it in more meaningful ways. So excited to see what feedback there is, and hopefully we can kind of make this ETH more deployed.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks for the overview. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments, support that they want to share for this here on the call?
Yeah, and one more thing before. I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody who worked on it, everybody who attended Treasury Tuesdays, gave their input. We even had people from other communities come in and kind of put their thoughts. So I really appreciate that, and I really want to shout out to Stubbs, Starfire, Breeze, Wes, really just everybody who was involved.
Definitely. Yeah, and if you you haven't read through, there are some key details about kind of decisions around deploying the assets, around management, around when liquidating the position might happen. So if you're not read up to that, I would encourage you to hop over to the forum, read through that, leave any comments that you've got there as well.
Yeah, another thing I'll say is, because these assets are pretty composable, we can take these derivatives, put them in urine vaults, in curve pools, and there's other things we can do with these to kind of get a little bit more juice out of these yields. So definitely we'll work with the Treasury team, as well as just everybody in Treasury Tuesdays, to understand what options are out there to kind of get additional yield and what risks those may bring. So if anybody has ideas to squeeze more juice out of that, just let us know during the Treasury Tuesdays, and we'll definitely assess that and probably work on a separate proposal for that.
Well, Matt, that's a perfect segue, and I'll give anybody a last option here to raise their hand if they've got any comments on this proposal for segueing into our first kind of news item. Does anyone else have any thoughts on the deploying ETH strategy proposal? I know it's something that we've talked about for many weeks in Treasury Tuesdays, and so I just want to echo Matt. Matt, Stubbs, Starfire, I think Wes and Breeze and Jason and everyone else that's been there on Tuesdays, putting in the work, talking about stuff, creating parameters. Just fantastic job, but all around by you guys. So Matt's comment about, hey, these are composable assets. We can talk about strategy of deploying them. I think that perfectly segues into kind of the next topic I wanted to bring up, which was a fun little bit of news we found out on Twitter, which was a new protocol called ARA. I believe it's called ARA protocol. Wait, I have it right here. I hit ARA Finance. I apologize if there's anyone that's a community member over there. That is doing an airdrop of tokens for folks that have vote locked CVX, vote locked balancer, things like that. I checked this morning. We're in about the top 50 allocation of this this token that they'll be releasing. In terms of valuations and things, I don't have any idea what it'll trade at. But it'll be interesting to pay attention to that. There's some parameters around claiming the airdrop where, you get to keep all of it. If you immediately lock it, you take a 30% haircut if you decide to claim it and not lock it. I don't really know how else it's going to be used, but this opens up an interesting dialogue that, I'm sure over the next couple of kind of Treasury Tuesdays, that I'd like to start investigating, which is what to do with smaller bags that we have. So by smaller bags, I'm talking sub 7 figures, sub mid 6 figure bag, like things like the alchemics that we'll be receiving over the next 3 rounds, and in the previous round from our CVX bribes, that's probably going to total about $200,000 worth of alchemics that we've committed to holding on to. Things like this aura token that we'll be getting. Things like tokamak that we'll be earning from our reactor, the stake-wise tokens. So all of these things that aren't, I would say, a major chunk percentage of our treasury, and starting to put together some ideas about what we do with these assets. And so I just wanted to plant the seed in everybody's mind and, start thinking about, is this something that we want to have individual strategies for each one of these assets, no matter how much of it we hold? Is it something that if it doesn't meet a minimum threshold of value, do we liquidate and put towards some of our, more longer term strategies? Just wanted to plant the seed in everybody's mind on this as well. So if anyone has any initial thoughts on this, this was just, a way for me to announce that we're getting a nice little airdrop, and we can, talk about this asynchronously as well.
I think something we can probably consider, and maybe another Treasury Tuesday conversation, is similar to the discretionary investment KIP. We could maybe apply something on kind of the lower end of the spectrum, where if it's under a certain threshold, which we can write a proposal for, that goes through obviously governance and has to be approved by everybody, but it would give some parties or some group of or committee maybe the power to have discretion about what you want to do with these, so it doesn't fully distract and clog up our governance process, that we don't have 5 different proposals dealing with something that's under 50K, and really just kind of being a distraction for the team and contractors and just really the community at large. So that's just one initial thought I had, but obviously more to come during the Treasury Tuesday.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Matt, we can start compiling the lists of these things and start discussing about larger ideas around this upcoming as well. Okay, the other housekeeping item I had was the live vote for is it the discretionary limit that expires tomorrow 11 a.m. Eastern time? Do I have that stat right? There's just about kind of 20 hours, 19 hours ish left in that vote. Right now we're seeing 13,000 Rook in favor, and no objection. So really cool stuff there. There was some smaller changes, I guess, since before this was posted. Just some small word changing. I believe that it ended up being 5% or $5 million, and it's the lesser of the two. And so, I'm excited to see the support for this. If you haven't voted yet, please get out and do so. Matt, any other little push there?
Yeah, I was going to say, just to highlight some of the other changes. So yeah, it did change from the greater of to the lesser of, which definitely is significant. And then the probably more significant component of that was the time frame by which it's measured over changed from basically half a year, 180 days, to 360. So when you really think about it, in its most basic form, you basically cut that discretionary investment in half of what you can do over a given year. So we can always replenish that through subsequent governance or do whatever we want, but in its current form, it's definitely different because it's roughly half of what we anticipated in my initial draft. So just something to highlight there.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. All right.
I have a housekeeping item while I'm up
Yay.
here. So Hazard is going to be on the Pull Together podcast, and I think that's actually in their Discord stage. So if anybody wants to go listen, you'll have the ability to kind of do so over there. And I'll probably get the link for that so I can kind of share it with the community as we get closer to that. But again, that's June 8th, and it is at 1:30 Eastern. Yeah, next Wednesday.
Awesome, Matt. Great work getting Hazard on that. I will also say that we will be having a special guest coming the following week to a special community call. We'll be hosting an AMA with Carson, aka Liquidity Wizard from Tokamak as well. So we'll talk everything reactors, what's involved with the Tokamak ecosystem, what they have in development as well. They have some new products coming out as well. So really excited to have Carson come and chat with us. So that'll be next Thursday, not next Thursday, the following Thursday, the 16th at 3 p.m. What we have, I think, already an event in the event logs up at the top of the Discord as well. So some fun community engagement stuff. Please do go and support Hazard on by listening to the Pull Together podcast. We'll still be pushing to find some more opportunities to get some of our leadership team out there talking with people as well. We also have some options for some Twitter spaces that are in the works as well that I've been trying to secure. So, really excited stuff around that. But lastly, I think that do I have anything else here? I guess we can kind of open forum. Does anyone have any topics that weren't on the agenda, pieces of news, or anything else that they want to discuss as a as a community here right now? I'll give anyone the chance to raise their hand, bring up any questions.
I mean, if anybody's been living under a rock, the Optimism airdrop is live. So go claim that if you think you might have had something to capture there. And then additionally, I know there's another airdrop. God, what is it called? The VEL token?
Velocity
token. Yeah, VELO token. I think if you're eligible for that airdrop, the Optimism airdrop, I think you're most likely eligible for this one as well.
And not to be too big of a plug, but they are one of our recruiting partners as well. I believe Bankless had a newsletter feature on 5 upcoming potential airdrops that you could participate in as well. I thought that was a pretty cool article. And so if you were looking for more opportunities to kind of get yourself eligible for airdrops, I would recommend checking that out as well.
I guess I'll share my favorite airdrop. There's it's called Zero DAO, which kind of gives people who bridge Bitcoin between chains confirmations, or lets them transfer before one confirmation on the BTC chain. I think Troy is familiar with that, but kind of like the other bridges, you just kind of do some bridge volume, and you'll likely get rewarded for that. So that's my airdrop for everyone.
Love it. Becoming town alpha. I'm a big fan here. Well, cool. Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it. Summer Fridays, calling you up here.
Hey, thanks for inviting me on stage. Didn't have a question, just wanted to say hello and introduce myself over VC. I've been lurking in the Discord and lurking in some of these chats. It's not that I'm antisocial, it's just that I am actually multitasking and at work right now. So I appreciate just listening in and trying to absorb all the information. It's a steep learning curve for me. I am not a dev and I'm a boomer to boot, so I'm at a distinct disadvantage here, but I'm liking what I'm seeing about the protocol, about the problem that you guys are tackling, and I appreciate the way the community is going about the business of doing that. From what I've seen and heard so far in the Discord and in the voice chats, the group just seems to be very supportive, open-minded, collaborative. I'm just really loving the vibes. So hope to keep attending and learning, and at some point when I feel comfortable enough, actually contributing.
Well, hey, we really appreciate you stepping up, introducing yourself. I will recommend that use any of our specific channels to ask questions, or if you are testing things on our app or anything and need some help, I'll post in the support channel. But there's a lot of great community folks that have been here for a while that are happy to answer questions. And so, just want to say a big welcome and really glad that you've been sticking around.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
right. Do we have any other kind of open forum topics for today? We can always let you guys get started on your weekend a little bit early. Yeah, why don't we go on ahead and do that? So, yeah, one just triple check reminder. If you haven't voted yet, head to Snapshot, vote on the latest proposal, and go hit the forums, comment on Matt's draft that's live right now, and then head off to Treasury Tuesday next week, where we'll be talking about a little bit more of that boost program and some of these smaller strategies around smaller assets that we have or will be gaining. But with that, hope everybody has a fun, safe weekend. Hope you get some good weather, get outside, touch some grass. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And thanks everybody for joining today.